Far beyond the known stars, deep inside the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, the galaxy's most powerful leaders gathered in silence. Their world was calm, their order strong, and their history long. Yet tonight, something felt wrong. For thousands of years, humanity had been nothing more than a myth. The species once called Earth had vanished ages ago, leaving behind nothing but burned worlds and forgotten ruins. To most of the galaxy, humans were legends told to frighten younglings, stories of a violent race that defied the gods, then disappeared into nothing. But that night, a message arrived. It came without warning, hidden in deep space frequencies that had been silent for millennia. A small blinking signal appeared on the Council's main screen. At first, no one noticed. It was weak, fragmented, and ancient. But when the technicians decoded the signal, the entire whole froze. It was human code, a pattern that only one extinct species could use. The signal repeated itself, again and again, a chilling message in a long-dead language. We are attaining. The council chamber filled with whispers. Impossible, one ambassador hissed. The humans are gone. Their world burned 3,000 years ago. But the data was clear. The coordinates were real. The signal came from the Sol system, Earth's home. The Council High Commander ordered an immediate investigation. Within hours, a fleet of drones and scout ships was sent to the coordinates. They expected to find empty space, maybe a drifting satellite, maybe nothing at all. What they found instead should never have existed. The Sol system was quiet, covered in strange dark energy fields that blocked senses. The planet seemed lifeless, cold and abandoned. But behind the shadow of a dead planet, something massive moved. The lead scout froze. "Command," he whispered, "we're detecting structure." "No, not a structure, a ship." The object was enormous, far larger than any council vessel. It didn't emit light, heat, or radio signals. It was completely silent, yet it pulsed with unknown power. The pilot zoomed in. On its surface, faint words glowed in ancient Terran script. The transmission cut abruptly after that. The last sound heard from the scout ship was static, followed by a faint human voice whispering, "You left us." The council tried to deny it, tried to erase the footage, but fear spread faster than lies. Across the stars, whispers grew. "Earth has returned." The old ones remembered what humans had done long ago. The wars that reshaped galaxies, the weapons that bent time itself. No one had ever defeated them. Only the humans had destroyed themselves. Also everyone believed. Now, the impossible was real again. Reports came from border colonies, sightings of DAC, silent ships moving through the void. Systems went offline, outposts vanished, communication networks failed. The council called for calm, but inside, panic was rising. The High Chancellor stood before the council and spoke with a trembling voice. "If Earth truly lives," he said, "then the galaxy is in danger." No one spoke after that. Even the warlike races, who once mocked the humans, stayed silent. The oldest archives described humanity as a race that fought until the last breath. If they had survived, they had reasons to hate. As the council debated what to do, a second signal appeared, stronger, closer, and aimed at every major communication channel in the galaxy. The same ancient human voice spoke, clearer now. "We watched your wars. We saw your lies. We remember your betrayal. And now we are coming home." The voice vanished. Every screen went black. In the silence that followed, every being in that great hall felt something they hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. On a distant observation ship, a young alien officer stared at the stars. His senses picked up a faint distortion, like ripples in space. Then he saw it, a shadow moving across the stars, slow and silent, its outline massive and strange. It wasn't just one ship. It was many. A fleet, dark as the void itself, emerging from hyperspace like ghosts. The officer's voice shook as he sent a final report. "They're not extinct. Humanity is back." The transmission ended. The council's chamber erupted in chaos. Some wanted to flee, some wanted to attack, but most simply stood frozen, unable to believe the truth. Ith, the forgotten world, had returned. And in their return was something cold, something powerful, something that made the entire galaxy tremble. The humans had once been a legend of destruction. Now, they were reality. The message that started it all still echoed in the Council's database, repeating endlessly through the dark halls. We are returning. Somewhere, in the deep black beyond the edge of known space, the human fleet drifted silently. Their ships were vast, cloaked in shadows, powered by energy unknown to any species alive. Inside one of those ships, a voice spoke softly. They thought they buried us, but we became the darkness itself. And as the stars glimmered faintly in the void, the galaxy realized something terrifying. Earth had not died. It had been waiting. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Every species that once ruled with calm authority now whispered in fear. The human signal had been confirmed. There was no denying it anymore. It had spread like wildfire through every corner of the galaxy. News networks called it the return. Some believed it was a trick, a ghost transmission from an ancient war. Others feared the truth, that humanity, the most dangerous species ever known, had come back. The Council tried to suppress the panic, ordering all communications blocked, but it was already too late. The signal had reached every world. Even the outer colonies, far beyond Council control, had begun preparing their defenses. In the main chamber, the Council High Chancellor slammed his fist on the table. "No one speaks of this again," he commanded. "If humanity truly lives, we must not provoke them." But another voice rose, trembling yet firm. "They don't need provocation. If they sent a signal, it means they are already moving." His words silenced the room. Outside, the galaxy carried on, unaware that its peace was about to end. The Council secretly dispatched a small intelligence vessel to trace the source of the transmission. Aboard the ship Krelos, Commander Terrin and his crew traveled toward the edge of known space. The crew was nervous. Even hearing human code made them uneasy. No one had ever seen a human, but the stories were enough to haunt them. Terrin replayed the signal again and again, staring at the strange rhythm of the words. "We are returning." He could feel something hidden in those words, something more than just a message. They reached the Sol system after days of silent travel. The system was surrounded by heavy interference. Their scanners malfunctioned, showing ghost readings. The planets looked dead. The sun dimmed unnaturally, as if the light itself avoided the place. "Run another scan," Terrin ordered. His technician nodded, but her hands trembled. "Say, there's something here. It's like the system is watching us." Before Terrin could respond, every screen on the ship went dark. Then the ship's AI flickered and spoke in a cold, human voice. "Unauthorized access detected. You should not have come." The crew froze. The voice was calm, emotionless, and ancient. "Identify yourself." Terrin shouted. "This is Commander Terrin of the Galactic Council." The AI paused for a moment, then replied, "Council. The same council that abandoned Earth." The crew gasped. The voice grew colder. "You left us in fire and silence. But we endured. We evolved. Now you listen." The screens flashed with human symbols, data moving too fast to read. The ship's lights dimmed, and the crew felt a strange vibration through the floor, as if something vast was moving around them. Then the voice whispered one final message before the system shut down completely. "Tell them, we are awake." When the ship regained power, they were already far from their previous position. All data from the human signal was wiped. Only one image remained, a blurred view of a colossal human warship, black as the void, surrounded by lightning. Commander Terrin transmitted the image to the Council before losing contact forever. The Council received the message hours later. The High Chancellor stared at the image, pale and shaking. "That is human technology?" he asked softly. "No," his advisor replied. "It's something beyond technology." Fear spread through the room like a storm. One council member demanded they send their fleets immediately. Another warned that humanity might see it as a threat. Arguments erupted, voices shouting across the chamber. Finally, the Chancellor stood and spoke. "We must contain this," he said. "No one outside this room will know what we saw." But as he spoke, every communication device in the chamber activated on its own. The lights flickered, and a voice echoed from the Council's central holoscreen. It was the same human voice. "You hide behind lies. You think your silence will save you. But the stars remember what you did." The councillors turned pale. The voice continued, calm and cold. "We were exiled. We were erased. But in the dark, we found something greater than life itself. The light shut off completely. Then the final words came, louder now, filled with quiet fury. We are humanity, and we have come home. The voice vanished, leaving the council in total silence. Across the galaxy, the same message appeared on every broadcast, every console, every satellite. No one knew how the humans had accessed them all at once. Even isolated mining colonies received the signal. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt truly small. On one frontier planet, a young alien engineer watched the broadcast with shaking hands. "If they really came back," she whispered, "what will they do to us?" Her friend answered softly, "They'll do what they always do. They'll take back what's theirs." Ships across the galaxy began to vanish. Patrol fleets went silent. Sensors showed massive gravitational waves moving between systems. Something big was coming, but no one could see it. It moved without light, without sound, hidden in the void. The council tried to calm the public, calling the reports fake. But deep down, every leader knew the truth. Humanity was back, and they were already moving. That night, the council's defense network detected a faint signature entering the edge of the galaxy. It wasn't a fleet. It was a single ship. Massive, cold, silent. Its identification code was ancient, from an age long past. It carried one name, TSS Vengeance, and below its emblem, glowing faintly in human script, were three simple words that made the galaxy tremble once again: "We are retaining." Across the vast expanse of space, fear began to spread like wildfire. Rumors of human ships appearing in the outer colonies reached every world. The council tried to dismiss them as tricks of the void, false reports made by frightened miners or malfunctioning sensors. But deep down, they knew it was real. Something had awakened, something ancient. In the cold darkness near the edge of the Orion Arm, a cargo vessel named Erythra drifted through empty space. Its crew of traders laughed and joked as they carried supplies to a nearby colony. Then, their laughter died when the stars around them began to dissipate. One by one, the stars blinked out, swallowed by a growing shadow. The captain ordered a scan, but the instruments failed. The radar showed only silence. Then a deep hum echoed through the ship, vibrating every wall. The crew looked outside and saw it, a massive shape, darker than space itself, moving silently across their path. It had no lights, no markings, only a smooth black surface that seemed to drink the starlight. The Erythra tried to turn away, but their engines shut down instantly. Then their screens came alive with static, and through it, a voice whispered, "We remember you." Moments later, the cargo vessel vanished without a trace. Only fragments of its distress signal reached nearby stations. When the council received the recording, they froze. The black silhouette seen in the video matched the image of the human warship TSS Vengeance. The council could no longer deny it. The humans had returned, and their ships were already moving across the galaxy. Reports flooded in, colonies going silent, fleets lost in deep space, and strange readings of dark matter storms surrounding entire sectors. The term Ghost Fleet was born. No one had ever seen them directly and lived. The ships appeared like shadows and vanished without sound. Every time they appeared, a system would fall into silence. The Galactic Council gathered an emergency session. The High Chancellor's voice trembled as he spoke. "We cannot fight ghosts. We cannot fight the dark." But one admiral, a proud warrior from the Drath Empire, slammed his fist on the table. "We must act. If we do nothing, they will consume us all." The council reluctantly agreed to send a task force to investigate. The Obsidian Fleet, made of the galaxy's most powerful warships, was dispatched to the frontier where the Erythra disappeared. Their mission was simple: find the humans, identify their strength, and if possible, destroy them. As the fleet arrived at the coordinates, everything seemed quiet. The stars burned bright, the void peaceful. Then, one by one, the ships began to lose contact. Static filled their channels. The lead ship, Vornax Prime, detected strange distortions ahead, ripples in space, like heat waves on a desert. Then the darkness came alive. Out of the void emerged hundreds of black shapes, massive human warships. They moved without sound, without light, yet perfectly synchronized. The alien admiral shouted for his fleet to open fire, and the void exploded with light. But the human ships didn't return fire. They simply vanished, slipping between the beams of energy like smoke. Seconds later, every alien warship system shut down. Engines dead. Weapons cold. Powerless, the Admiral watched as the nearest human vessel drifted closer, its surface rippling like liquid metal. A voice echoed through his command deck. "Do you fear the dark now?" Then his ship, and every other ship in the fleet, vanished from all senses. When the Council tried to contact them, there was no response. Hours later, a single damaged vessel appeared at the edge of Council space. It drifted silently, no crew aboard. Inside its database, one corrupted file was found, a short, trembling voice recording. "They came from the shadows," the voice said. "They're ships. They don't use engines. They move like the void itself. We fired everything. Nothing touched them. And then, they spoke." The recording ended with static and a faint whisper. "Project Oblivion lives." The Council members stared at each other in horror. That name hadn't been spoken in over 3,000 years. Project Oblivion had been humanity's last experiment before their disappearance, a secret weapon designed to manipulate dark matter. If the humans had mastered it, then their ships weren't just using technology. They were using the fabric of the universe itself. Panic spread through the chamber. "We must prepare for war," one shouted. "No," said another. "You can't fight what you can't see." As the Council argued, a new message appeared on their screens, transmitted across every frequency at once. It was simple and direct, written in human language. To the Galactic Council, it said, "Your silence was your crime. Your lies were your weapons. Now the forgotten return to claim what was stolen." The message ended with the same chilling phrase, "We are humanity. We are the darkness." The Council fell into silence. Across the galaxy, every species began to prepare for what was coming. Fleets mobilized, planets fortified, and communication lines filled with fear. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. There was no hiding from the humans. They had vanished ages ago, but now they moved through the stars like ghosts, unseen but unstoppable. And somewhere, far beyond any known system, the TSS Vengeance led a vast fleet through the void. Inside its command chamber, the captain looked upon a map of the galaxy glowing red with their targets. "They thought they erased us," she said quietly. "Now they will remember our name." The dark fleet turned toward Council space, silent and ready. The return of humanity had begun, and the galaxy's age of peace was about to end forever. Inside the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned like never before. The Council, once proud and powerful, now trembled under the shadow of a single name, humanity. The disappearance of the Obsidian fleet had confirmed everyone's worst fear. The humans were not just alive, they were stronger than ever. In the dim light of the chamber, the High Chancellor stood before a sea of terrified faces. "We are dealing with a ghost empire," he said, his voice trembling. "An empire that does not speak, does not bargain, and does not forgive." No one responded. The air was thick with fear and guilt. Every species that knew the truth, they had betrayed Earth. Long ago, when humanity had begun to grow too powerful, the Council had turned against them. They had sealed off the Sol system, cut their communications, and left them to die in the isolation of space. And now, the ones they left behind had come back from the darkness. An emergency broadcast played on the chamber screen, a shaky transmission from aboard a world. The image showed black skies filled with dark silhouettes. Massive ships hung over the planet, silent and still. "They haven't fired," the alien commander on the screen said. "They are just watching us." Suddenly, the transmission cut to static. Moments later, the planet went completely dark. Every sensor reading vanished. It was as if the world itself had been erased. "Another colony gone," whispered a counselor. "No warning, no survivors." The Chancellor gripped the table and whispered, "We are running out of time." That same night, the Council's intelligence division discovered something horrifying. Hidden files buried deep within ancient archives. The files were locked with human encryption, impossible for any current AI to crack. But one title was readable, Project Oblivion. Legend said it was the human's final creation, a weapon built from dark matter, designed not to destroy, but to consume. No one knew how it worked or if it was ever completed. Now, it seemed the humans had mastered it. The Council held a secret meeting in the lower chambers. The atmosphere was tense. "If the humans have dark matter weapons," said Admiral Kale, "we cannot stop them. No shield can withstand it." Another voice replied, "Then we must surrender. Beg for mercy." The Admiral slammed his hand on the table. "Mercy? From the ones we betrayed. They will burn us to ashes." Suddenly, the lights flickered. Every console in the chamber turned on by itself. A voice, cold and human, echoed through the room. "You speak of mercy," it said, "but you showed us none." The counselors froze in horror. The voice continued, calm and slow. "You sealed our skies. You watched us starve. But we did not die. We learned. We became one with the dark." The lights dimmed further, and an image appeared on the main holoscreen. A vast black planet, glowing with crimson veins of energy. It was Earth, but not the Earth they remembered. It looked alive, pulsing with power, orbiting within a shroud of dark matter. The human voice spoke again, louder now. "This message is for the Galactic Council. We remember what you did, and now it is your turn to remember us." The image vanished, and the chamber went silent. Every counselor felt it, the beginning of something unstoppable. In the following days, panic spread across the galaxy. Fleets deserted their posts, civilians fled core worlds, and ancient alliances crumbled. The humans had not attacked yet, but their presence alone was enough to tear the galaxy apart. Entire governments turned on each other, arguing over who should take the blame for humanity's rage. In secret, the Council tried to reach out to the humans, sending encrypted peace signals through the void. But no reply ever came. Instead, one night, every communication array across Council space activated at once. The same transmission played on every screen, every ship, every planet. It showed the black surface of a massive warship drifting through space. A single phrase appeared on the screen, written in human text. "To those who erased our home, your time is up." And then, the fleet began to move. Dozens of dark ships emerged from hyperspace, gliding through the void like living shadows. They surrounded Council space from every direction. Defense systems went online, but sensors could barely track the human vessels. They didn't emit heat or radiation. They seemed to exist half inside reality and half outside it. The first shots were fired by a nervous alien captain who panicked. His beam vanished into nothing, absorbed by the void itself. The human ships didn't fire back. They simply advanced, unstoppable and silent. Panic spread through the fleets. Commanders shouted orders, but communications broke down. Entire systems went offline as the humans released electromagnetic pulses of unimaginable strength. On the Council's homeworld, alarms screamed as the power grid collapsed. The Chancellor stood on the balcony, watching the sky. It was filled with black shapes blocking out the stars. He whispered, "We should have left them alone." Then, from the heavens, a deep voice echoed across every frequency. "We were born in your light. We died in your fire. Now, we rise from your shadow." The human fleet opened fire. Beams of dark energy tore through the sky, silent but devastating. Council warships exploded like paper. The capital's atmosphere burned red as the ground quaked. Within minutes, the most powerful empire in the galaxy was powerless. And yet, amid the destruction, one thing became clear. The humans were not conquering. They were cleansing. They weren't here to rule. They were here to make the galaxy remember what it had tried to forget. As the Council's towers crumbled and the stars dimmed, one last transmission from Earth echoed across the void, simple and cold. "We warned you. We are returning." The galaxy burned. Worlds that had stood for thousands of years now drifted in silence. The lights gone, the skies turned black. The human fleet moved like a storm through the stars, their ships cloaked in darkness, their weapons made of energy that no other race could understand. The Council's proud empires, once rulers of entire sectors, were now reduced to frightened fragments scattered across space. Every defense line that rose against humanity fell within minutes. There were no long battles, no drawn-out wars. The humans struck fast, precise, and without mercy. Entire fleets vanished without leaving debris behind. The ships did not use lightspeed trails or engine flares. They moved through folds in space itself, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. No one could predict them. No one could stop them. The Council's generals tried everything: ion cannons, antimatter warheads, quantum disruptors, but every weapon failed. Human ships simply absorbed the attacks, their hulls glowing faintly with the energy they consumed. For the first time in galactic history, the Council begged for peace. They sent messages across all frequencies, pleading for communication, for mercy, for understanding. But humanity did not answer. Instead, they sent only one message across the stars. Do not resist. Reclamation begins. The meaning was clear. Humanity was not here to negotiate. They were taking back what was theirs. On the outer rim, dozens of planets that had once been human colonies long ago were now occupied by alien settlers. Those worlds were the first to fall. The human fleet surrounded them silently, cutting off escape routes. The inhabitants tried to fight, but every defense system shut down as if controlled by invisible hands. Then a single transmission came from orbit, a voice that sounded almost mechanical yet human. Evacuate. This world belongs to Earth. Some worlds obeyed, evacuating quickly, leaving cities empty. Others resisted, and they disappeared. From orbit, it looked like the planets simply dimmed, swallowed by darkness, leaving only lifeless spheres behind. The Council finally realized the horrifying truth. Humanity wasn't destroying planets. They were reclaiming them using dark matter fields that erased everything non-human from the surface. And once the cleansing was complete, the humans rebuilt. New towers rose where ruins once stood. Machines reshaped landscapes in minutes. It was as if Earth's children were reawakening their lost empire. The Council, desperate and broken, met one last time in the ruins of their capital world. The High Chancellor stood before the remaining leaders, his voice weak and hollow. "We are witnessing the end of our age," he said. "The humans are not conquerors. They are judges." His words hung in the air, heavy and cold. Outside, the sky glowed with red storms, the result of the human fleet's passing. Admiral Kale, one of the last military commanders still alive, stood and spoke with fury. "If they are taking back the galaxy, then let them find us ready. We will fight to the last star." But no one moved. The will to fight was gone. Everyone knew resistance was useless. Suddenly, the Council's main screen lit up on its own. Static filled the air, followed by a low humming sound. Then the image cleared, revealing the face of a human for the first time in 3,000 years. He was calm, his eyes glowing faintly with blue light. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "Galactic Council," he said, "you feared us, you betrayed us, and you buried us. Yet here we stand, born again from the dark you cast us into. We did not come to rule. We came to remember." The Chancellor stepped forward, trembling. "What do you want from us?" The human's expression did not change. "We want balance," he said. "You built empires on our graves. Now you will learn what it means to lose what you stole." The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, human fleets began releasing strange metallic orbs into orbit around key worlds. No one knew what they were, until the first one activated. A dark field expanded outward, swallowing space itself, erasing everything it touched. Weapons, ships, even light vanished inside it. The orbs were part of Project Oblivion. The humans had completed it. They were using dark matter itself as a weapon, a force that could erase existence. One by one, the Council's greatest worlds disappeared from the galactic map. Panic turned to hopelessness. Billions fled into deep space, hoping to escape the advancing darkness. But even there, the human signal followed. Reclamation complete, it would announce coldly before silence returned. The galaxy that had mocked Earth now knelt before it in fear. Yet even in their wrath, humanity showed a strange order. They spared certain worlds, planets that had once helped humans survive long ago. Those places were left untouched, guarded by human drones. The message was clear. Those who had shown mercy would be remembered. But for the rest, the cleansing continued. In the final days of the Council, the Chancellor made a last desperate attempt to send a plea directly to Earth. "If you can hear this," he said, "we admit our crimes. We seek forgiveness. Please end this war." The transmission went unanswered for hours. Then, suddenly, a voice replied, deep and calm. "This is not war," it said. "This is memory." The message ended. Across the stars, the human fleet gathered again, forming a vast formation that stretched for light years. They moved in silence, united under a single banner, Earth reborn. The Council's age was over. Humanity had returned, not as victims, but as masters of the dark. And as their ships vanished back into the void, one final transmission echoed through the empty galaxy. The light that betrayed us has been extinguished. The era of Earth has begun. The galaxy was broken. The Council's proud fleets were dust. Their great cities turned to glowing ruins beneath the silent advance of the human armada. From the core to the edge of the stars, only fear remained. The survivors whispered stories of black ships that moved without sound, of human voices echoing in the void before entire worlds vanished. No one could hide. Humanity's reach was everywhere. But still, the humans said nothing. They made no demands, no negotiations. They simply continued their march through the stars, reclaiming what they called their inheritance. The few remaining council members gathered in a hidden station deep within a dying nebula. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow. The High Chancellor looked at the faint hologram of the galaxy before him, most of it now under human control, marked by zones of red darkness. "We can't stop them," whispered one counselor. "Every weapon fails. Every ship disappears." Another replied bitterly, "Perhaps they are no longer human." The room fell silent. None dared to deny it. The recordings from captured fragments of human transmissions told strange tales, of humanity merging with the very energy that once imprisoned them. They no longer used metal or fuel. Their ships were alive, built from dark matter that responded like muscle and bone. Their pilots were part of their vessels, minds linked through neural symbiosis. The humans had become something new, something the galaxy had no word for. The Chancellor turned toward Admiral Kale, the last surviving commander of the Council's defense fleets. "Tell me the truth," he said softly. "Do we have any chance left?" Kale hesitated, then shook his head. "No, they are not fighting us. They are cleansing us." His voice dropped lower. "They believe we are a sickness." Before the meeting could continue, alarms blared. The station shook violently. A voice shouted from the control room, "They found us." Outside, through the observation glass, hundreds of dark shapes appeared. Human ships, vast and silent, surrounding the nebula like predators. The Council had no weapons capable of stopping them. The Chancellor fell to his knees as the human fleet began to glow with faint red light. "This is the end," he whispered. But the ships didn't fire. Instead, a single transmission came through. A calm, steady human voice filled the air. "You cannot hide in the dark," it said. "We were born there." The Council's communications officer trembled. "They're asking for a visual link." The Chancellor nodded weakly. The screen flickered, revealing a human figure standing on what looked like the bridge of a living ship. His eyes glowed faintly, and his expression was neither cruel nor kind, just empty. "Galactic Council," he said, "you feared our return. You were right to." The Chancellor forced himself to stand. "Why?" he demanded. "Why destroy us all? We admit our betrayal, but there must be something left of your humanity." The figure tilted his head slightly. "Humanity," he repeated softly. "We are not what we were. You made sure of that. You sealed us in the dark for 3 millennia. We adapted. We learned from the void. We became its children." His voice grew colder. "And now, the void remembers you." Without another word, the transmission ended. Outside, the human fleet began to move. But instead of attacking, they surrounded the nebula, forming a circular formation. Then, a pulse of dark light spread outward, washing over the Council station. The walls vibrated, reality itself seemed to twist, and suddenly the station was no longer there. No explosion, no debris, just emptiness. The humans had erased it from existence. The act was broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. The message that followed was short and final: the age of silence begins. In the following days, entire sectors went dark. The humans moved through them, leaving only empty systems behind. Planets that once shone with life now orbited like dead stones. But amidst the destruction, some races noticed something strange. On a few worlds, the humans had built structures, black towers that rose into the sky, humming with energy. No one knew their purpose. Some believed they were beacons, others said they were prisons. Only one truth was clear: humanity was reshaping the galaxy in its own image. Meanwhile, deep inside the void, the flagship TSS Vengeance continued to lead the Reclaimer fleet. Its captain, Commander Arya Solon, stood before a massive projection of the galaxy. Her voice was calm but filled with purpose. "Phase 1 is complete," she said. "Council resistance is gone. Begin Phase 2, reconstruction." A subordinate nodded. "And the survivors?" Arya's gaze turned cold. "Let them live. They will serve as witnesses." The fleet moved again, silent and unstoppable. In the darkness, Earth itself began to stay. The old planet, hidden for millennia within its dark shroud, now pulsed with deep energy. Its oceans glowed faintly with red light. The cities that once lay in ruins were alive again, powered by the same force that fueled the fleets. Earth had become something more than a world. It was the heart of a living empire. From orbit, thousands of human warships stood guard around it like sentinels. On the surface, towers of glass and shadow stretched high into the blackened sky. Humanity had not just survived, it had evolved into the masters of the dark. Across the stars, terrified refugees whispered a single new name, the Dark Empire of Earth. The humans no longer needed to conquer. They simply existed, and the galaxy bowed in silence. For the first time in recorded history, the stars themselves seemed dimmer. Those who dared to look into the void saw flickering shapes, vast, silent ships gliding past like shadows, watching. The war was over, but the fear had just begun. The message that echoed across the galaxy was simple, unchanging, and final. We do not seek peace. We seek balance. Humanity had returned, and their justice had no light. Silence spread through the galaxy like a fog. The stars that once burned bright now seemed dim under the shadow of Earth's rebirth. The Galactic Council no longer existed. Its leaders had vanished, their empires reduced to dust. Across the void, countless species lived in quiet fear, praying that the humans would not find them next. They no longer called them humans. They called them the Voidborn. Stories spread, of black ships that could travel between moments, of captains who spoke to the stars, and of Earth itself glowing like a dark sun. No one truly understood what humanity had become, but everyone knew this. They had returned not as conquerors, but as something far greater, something ancient and inevitable. In the deep core of the galaxy, a secret remained. Beneath the dying light of a red giant star, an ancient archive world called Verith Prime still pulsed with life. It was one of the last remnants of the old Galactic Council, a fortress of information, storing the secrets of every species, including those of humanity before their fall. The last few alien scholars gathered there, desperate to uncover something that could stop Earth's advance. Among them was Saren Val, a historian of the Lyran people. His scaled hands trembled as he scrolled through fragments of lost data. "It says they were betrayed by the Council," Saren whispered, "sealed away beyond the Galactic Rim. But before their exile, they warned us all." He read the words again, ancient and chilling. "Bury us if you must. But one day, we will rise from the dark. And when we do, the galaxy will remember what fear truly means." Suddenly, alarms blared through the archive. A technician shouted, "Unidentified contact, multiple signatures approaching at impossible speed." Saren's blood turned cold. "It's them." The skies above Verith Prime darkened as massive human ships descended. They were silent, their hulls shimmering like liquid shadow. One of them was so large it blocked out the planet's sun entirely. Then a voice echoed across the surface, calm and precise. "This world holds what was stolen. Humanity reclaims its memory." The alien defenders fired desperately into the sky, but their weapons had no effect. The human fleet didn't even retaliate. Instead, they activated strange devices that emitted pulses of dark energy. Within seconds, all power across Verith Prime shut down. Machines froze. Ships fell from the sky. And then they came, humans in black armor, their faces hidden behind glowing helmets. They moved without sound, almost gliding. Saren watched in horror as they entered the archive hole, walking straight toward the central core. "Please," he begged, "you don't have to do this. We only wanted to understand." One of the armored figures stopped. A woman's voice came through the helmet, calm but filled with something ancient. "Understanding is what destroyed you," she said. "You looked into the dark and saw power. We looked into it and saw truth." She reached out her hand, and the archive's core lit up, responding to her presence. Streams of light and data spiraled into the air, flowing into her armor. "You can't just take it." Saren cried. That knowledge belongs to all races. The human's head turned slightly. No, she said quietly. It belongs to us. You only borrowed it while we were gone. With that, the core shattered into dust, absorbed completely into the human's body. The humans turned and left, leaving Saren alone in the dark. Minutes later, the human fleet departed. When the first light returned, Verith Prime was gone, erased, as though it had never existed. The story spread fast. The humans weren't just reclaiming territory. They were reclaiming knowledge, erasing all record of their past shame and exile. And wherever they went, they left behind the same chilling symbol. A black circle burned into the ground, surrounded by faint words, Earth remembers. In the outer systems, panic spread. Fleets fled into uncharted space. But even there, the humans found them. No one could understand how. They simply appeared, as if the universe itself obeyed their will. In one such escaped fleet, a small group of alien survivors huddled in fear. Among them was a young scientist who whispered, "What if Earth isn't doing this for revenge? What if they are trying to rebuild something greater?" The ship captain shook his head. "Then may the stars help us when they finish." Back on Earth, Commander Arya Solan stood before the glowing core of the Reclaimer network, a vast machine stretching beneath the planet's surface. It pulsed with dark light, feeding on energy from across the galaxy. She watched as data streams flowed into it. Maps, archives, genetic codes, everything the galaxy had ever known. Behind her, a voice spoke. "The network grows stronger," said High Executor Wren. "The galaxy's resistance is broken. Soon, the reconstruction will begin." Arya turned slowly. "And what happens to those who remain?" Wren's eyes gleamed with cold fire. "They will save, or vanish." Arya hesitated. "Once, we were like them," she said softly. "We feared, we dreamed, we hoped. Now we are something else." Wren placed a hand on her shoulder. "We became what they forced us to become. Never forget that." As the chamber rumbled around them, the core's light flared brighter. Across the stars, human ships began releasing small black orbs, replicators, each one capable of rebuilding worlds in Earth's image. The process had begun. Old worlds would fall, and new ones would rise, all connected to the Reclaimer network. The galaxy's old age was ending, and a new one was dawning, the Age of Earth. Yet somewhere in the dark, far beyond the edges of the human network, something stared. A distant signal, faint but growing stronger. A voice whispered from the void. "They think they control the dark." But the dark was never theirs alone. Humanity's empire had returned, but the true shadow had yet to awaken. The galaxy shivered in silence. Every star, every planet, every system that had once known the light of the Council now trembled under the weight of humanity's return. The Reclaimer fleet stretched across the void like a black river, moving with precision, swallowing worlds, and reshaping them in Earth's image. Entire civilizations had vanished, their fleets, their cities, their histories erased. Humanity no longer fought. They judged, they cleansed, and they rebuilt. On the bridge of the TSS Vengeance, Commander Arya Solan stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the vast holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers pulsed across the stars, systems already under their control. Her second-in-command, High Executor Wren, approached cautiously. "Phase 3 begins tomorrow," he said. "By the end of this cycle, the galaxy will be entirely under our network." Arya nodded slowly. "Good. But we must remain vigilant. Some still resist. Some still hide." Outside the fleet, the void itself seemed to respond to their presence. Dark matter streams twisted around the ships, forming protective shields, warping space to allow instantaneous movement. The humans had become one with the universe, their fleet no longer merely vessels, but extensions of Earth's will. Far beyond the core, in a cluster of uncharted systems, a small group of survivors huddled on a hidden station. They called themselves the Alliance of the Lost, scientists, soldiers, and diplomats who had escaped the human purge. Their leader, a grizzled alien named Laura Keth, stared at a faint signal on her monitors. "They're coming," she whispered. "I can feel it." One of her aides asked nervously, "How do we fight something that doesn't fight?" Laura shook her head. "You can't. You survive by hiding, by understanding, by waiting. Humanity doesn't destroy what it doesn't need, but it never forgets. In orbit above a barren planet, a human scout ship observed the station. Its hull was black as night, absorbing all light, undetectable except to those who already feared it. Within the ship, a human pilot whispered softly into the network. Phase 3 targets identified. Ready to proceed. And then the fleet descended silently, like shadows engulfing dawn. On the station, alarms blared as systems failed one by one. The Alliance scrambled, firing every weapon they had, but their shots passed through the human vessels as if they were illusions. Then, a voice echoed in the command room. Calm, cold, undeniably human. You are survivors of the old age. You will be witnesses of the new. Panic spread, but the humans did not fire. They moved through the station, accessing data, absorbing knowledge, and erasing only what they deemed unnecessary. Laura realized the truth. Humans were not attacking blindly. Every action was deliberate. Every system destroyed, every archive erased, was a choice. They were reclaiming what had once belonged to them, rewriting the galaxy in the image of Earth. Meanwhile, deep within the Reclaimer network on Earth, the planet pulsed like a living heart. Towers of shadowed glass stretched into the sky, feeding energy from every corner of the galaxy into the planet's core. Commander Aria walked along a vast corridor, observing streams of data flowing into massive conduits. It is working, she said softly. Every system, every world, every piece of history is being brought back into the fold. High Executive Wren nodded. The galaxy will remember what it means to belong to Earth. At the edge of human-controlled space, scattered fleets tried to regroup. The few remaining Council survivors sent desperate messages, pleading for mercy, offering tribute, begging for peace. But the messages went unanswered. Only one phrase was sent back in response: submission is irrelevant. Memory is eternal. In the outer rim, isolated planets witnessed strange phenomena. Black orbs appeared in orbit, pulsing with red light. Dark storms swirled across the skies, erasing communication and disabling technology. Yet some worlds were left untouched, fertile lands and intact cities, proof that the humans remembered allies, that mercy existed for those who had once aided them. On one of these worlds, a young scientist named Ilaria watched the skies nervously. They don't destroy everything, she said to her companion. They only erase what betrays them. Her companion nodded silently, understanding the gravity of their survival. Back in the void, the Reclaimer fleet moved toward the core sectors of the galaxy, their numbers growing as smaller human vessels merged into the larger network. The void itself seemed alive around them, responding to their command. Systems that had hidden for centuries were now revealed, their histories absorbed into the network, their technologies repurposed to serve the Reclaimers. On Earth, Commander Aria gazed at the stars, her mind calm yet calculating. Soon, she said softly, the galaxy will be complete. High Executive Wren approached, bowing slightly. And when it is complete? Aria's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Then we begin the true wake. Not just reclamation, but renewal. The mistakes of the old age will be erased. Only Earth's memory will remain. Across the dark expanse, human fleets moved with perfect silence, erasing, rebuilding, reclaiming. The galaxy had no choice but to bend beneath their shadow. In the final moments before the dawn of the new age, one last signal was sent to the remaining worlds. The era of Earth is retained. All who remember will serve. All who resist will vanish. Witness the rise of the true power of humanity. And with that, the void itself seemed to breathe, alive with the dark pulse of Earth's will. The galaxy had ended, and a new age, silent, cold, and absolute, had begun. Humanity had retained, not to negotiate, not to conquer, but to reshape the universe in its image, and nothing alive dared stand in their way.